I can hardly believe that I am seriously recording my 100th podcast episode, and it just happened to hit right when we were walking into 2025, which just makes it a little bit more amazing to me. So, as always, I would like to welcome you to Unleashing Happiness, and I am doing it today for the 100th time. It's so exciting. I am your host, Cecilia Hendricks, and I am here to teach you how to change your mindset, change your habits, and actually change your life. I created this podcast because I spent so many years in a cycle of trying to figure out how to improve some areas of my life. I had many areas that I super loved, right? Like I loved being a mother, I had really great friendships, but there was still other areas I just wanted to see improvement. I felt like I wanted more. I wanted more fulfillment. I didn't want every day to feel like I was just going to a job that drained me, coming home to do the dishes, have a cluttered house, not have my body or my mind or my spirit in a position that I wanted it to be in. And I fell into a cycle of toxic positivity when I learned about manifestation techniques. Over time, I figured out how to actually become the person that I wanted to be, how to step into the identity of the person who lived the life that I truly wanted, how to emotionally regulate myself, how to actually learn to pay attention to the parts of me that needed my support and were working to protect me, and how to truly create a life that I loved. And I started sharing it with others. And the more that I did, the more they're like, this makes so much sense and is making so many things come together for me in my own life. And being able to do that was so special and so important. So I wanted to start sharing it out to more and more people. And that created the Unleashing Happiness podcast. That has created the courses and the coaching that I've done. And being able to see all of this change people's lives while enriching my own life has been nothing short of miraculous. And I am so thankful and so grateful. Today, in honor of it not only being my 100th episode, but also in honor of it being the new year coming into 2025, I wanted to share things to release, things to say, you know what, I'm going to leave this back in 2024. I'm going to bring these beliefs and these mindsets into 2025 and give you some tips and tricks for some habit stacking and some ideas of what you could do to a habit stack in your own life. And quickly, before I get into it, a habit stack is when you take something that you kind of already do and you quote unquote have to do, but it's something you already do and you're adding something to it. So let's say that you are going to do affirmations while brewing your coffee. That's habit stacking. Or you're going to listen to an audiobook to learn something on your way into work. So that's habit stacking, where you already are going to be driving into work. You're already going to be making the coffee. So what can you pair it with? And I want to end today's episode giving you a list of ideas of ways to habit stack that support growth, learning, and becoming this person that you truly want to be in life. They're all ones that I personally use myself. I have found really beneficial. So choose one that you want to incorporate into your life. All habits, all changes that you make in life start small. That is the best way for you to make sure that they remain sustainable, is to start with something small. What's one way that you can align with this person that you want to be? So we're going to kick off today talking about the things to leave behind in 2024. These are mindsets that if you find yourself in these, they are likely not serving the person that you want to be. It's in opposition of the life that you want to lead. So I want you to listen to these, maybe go back and even listen a second time and think about the ones that you have and that maybe you're not even aware of until you're listening to this and you're like, holy crap, I do that. And what are ones that you could leave behind that you want to shed from your own personal beliefs and behaviors? So your behaviors and your habits are going to contribute to the person that you are. They contribute to your identity. The identity that you hold is going to drive the actions that you take. And so as you start to become aware of these things that you should leave behind, it's truly the first step in making sustainable change in your own life. One of the first to leave behind is your judgment of self. So regardless of where you are right now, you can actually shed your judgment of self. The fact that you're listening to this podcast is something to be celebrated. The fact that you are considering, how can I start making some changes in my own life, is truly something to celebrate and something you should feel good about. So dropping this judgment of self of where you are now is so important on your journey. Don't judge yourself, but pay attention to the things that you do. You can be aware without creating judgment. You can make changes without beating yourself up. You can forgive yourself for the place that you're in right now and realize, well, I'm doing something about it now. I'm going to pay attention and start changing things in my own life so that I can become the person I want to be and shed these old behaviors. And there's nothing to fear or be upset or really be down on yourself because you're in this position now. Wherever you are now, it can change. If there's one thing that is true about this world, no matter what other beliefs you have, it's that everything always changes. So another mindset to consider is this fear, though, of change. Everything changes around you, right? And I think a lot of times we as human beings want to keep things the same or as much the same as possible, so we attempt to control them. And releasing that need for control, or at least learning how to understand more of where it comes from, can you lean into being curious about where that stemmed, right? Like, can you think about, why do I want to have so much control? What are the things that I think will happen if I lose control? What are the things I think will happen if I regain this control? And part of why I recommend that you start to learn how to release some of the control is because the more that you're kind of go with the flow, the less resistance you're creating for yourself. You're beginning to release the expectation that things are only going to go the way that you imagine them to go. I firmly believe that we can manifest the life that we want to lead, that we can manifest the experiences that we want to have. But that does not always mean that that experience is going to come to you in exactly the way that you thought that it would, or exactly the way that you want it to come. And releasing that need to hold on to that, releasing this need to say, I need to make sure that this goes the way that I want it to go, will open up your mind and your life to additional possibilities. And the more possibilities you can see, the more it starts to flow into your life. It's like creating that kind of flow state that people talk about, where the good is coming into your life because you are relaxed, you are allowing things to come, and you are open to the possibility of the way that they're going to get there. Another thing that I definitely want you to leave behind in 2024 is the expectations of others. When I say the expectations of others, I mean having an expectation that someone else is going to behave in the way that you want them to. So this goes back to control, right? So the more that you learn how to internalize and pay attention to how you feel and work on yourself, the less you'll be concerned with what everybody else is doing. And the most amazing part of it, in my experience, has been that the less that you are concerned about having expectations for them, the more that people start to show up in ways that fit the way that you want, that are meeting the needs that you have. It may not always be the person that you expected it to be, but the more that you open up this possibility that your needs are met, your wants are met, those things are going to start coming to you, and you don't have to control other people to have that. And the next mindset for you to leave behind, or I guess habit and routine to leave behind in 2024, is holding on to relationships that are not serving you. Now, that's not to say that by releasing them, creating some distance, starting to work on yourself, that those relationships won't repair and reappear in your life. But I do want you to be very honest with yourself about what you need to let go of in order to really hold on to the values that you'd like to have as a person. So if as a value you want to be loved and cherished and be in a relationship that is loyal and connected and really healthy, but you're in a situationship with somebody that you really don't feel that good about, right? They call you in the middle of the night, you go over there and do your thing, go home, and you're like, I don't like this. I want more. Maybe they're feeling more. Maybe they want more from me. If that's not there for you right now, I want you to release that relationship and start working on yourself. And this is the perfect place to begin. So the mindsets and the habits that I want you to bring into 2025 is, one, putting yourself first. And sometimes that seems so counterintuitive, especially if you're a parent. I know myself as a mother, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put my kids first, of course. But when it comes down to it, I actually need to place myself first. And I say that because if I'm not in a healthy position, if my mental state is in a just all over the place, I'm not doing well, I can't get up out of bed, I'm really struggling and I'm not taking care of myself, I can't care for my children in the way that I want to. If I'm not taking care of my body physically, it's going to break down and I'm not going to be able to be there for my children in the way that I want to be. And so that's what I mean by putting yourself first. How can you take care of you? Because if you are not the best version of you, you can't be the best version of you for someone else. This is where resentment starts from, right? This is where unfulfillment begins. This is where burnout starts, is this constant giving without giving to yourself. You're giving to others until your cup literally has nothing left for you. And you need that. You need to replenish. You need to do the things that bring you joy. You should be taking care of yourself. And that is not selfish. It is completely necessary as a human being to make sure that you are physically, mentally, and emotionally in the best place that you can be if you want to be the best version of yourself for the ones that you love. And so something else that I want to encourage you bring into 2025 is taking better care of yourself. What is one area, if you check in with you, what is one area that you think you could do better in? Like, I know that for myself, it's physically. I tend to take my physical health and put it on the back burner to everything else. And I'm going to pay for it. And I actually am starting to pay for it. So my belief in the system that I want to bring into 2025 is taking care of my body physically. And while for me, that means eating really well, more healthy foods, cutting down on processed and refined sugars, going to the gym, walking more, doing stretches multiple times a day, incorporating more yoga and Pilates into my week, for you, that may look different. Or for you, it may be, you know what, I take care of myself physically, but I'm not taking care of myself spiritually. And so I want to add a spiritual practice. I want to start working on my breath work. I want to add some meditation into my day. I want to start reading the Bible or books that connect me more with God and my true self. Find which area you think you are not taking care of yourself as well as you should, and choose one small thing that you can do each and every day to connect more and take care of yourself better in that way. How can you fill your cup in that way? Let's say that yours is like me and like physically, I am not taking care of myself and I'm exhausted, right? Could you add a 10 or 15-minute walk to your day to get started? Can you say, I'm going to walk 1 mile per day. I'm going to spend 15 minutes outside. I'm going to do, 3 daily joys every day. I'm going to take a magnesium bath so that I am relaxing myself before bed. That's taking care of yourself physically to make sure that you get quality sleep. The list goes on and on and on, right? So figure out which ways you are not filling your cup. Which ones are you really good at? Pat yourself on the back for those, but then also become self-aware to say, you know what, this is an area that I could improve. And in 2025, I'm going to pick one way that I'm going to start to show up for myself more. Next mindset to bring into 2025 is curiosity. So when you have thoughts that come up in your mind that are not aligned to the life that you want, maybe you deem them as quote unquote negative thoughts, I want you to become curious with those. One, first, recognize them, and you can acknowledge, I recognize that I am having this thought right now. I recognize that I am repeating a story to myself that I don't want to continue to repeat. Then take a minute to think about that thought. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from a trigger that I had externally? Was there like a smell, a place, a time, a person? What brought this thought up for me? And then ask yourself, what is actually aligned more? What is the thought that I would prefer to have? And start to think about that thought. Because here's what happens in our brain. The more that you have these thoughts, these limiting beliefs or the beliefs that you have about yourself, and the more that you go back to those, the more it becomes a habit for that to be your thought. So then let's say that you get a feeling of like overwhelm. Well, that first feeling of overwhelm is going to jump to the thought that's connected as the habit, right? So it's connected in your mind and it says, okay, now we're going to go start in these thoughts. We're overwhelmed. So now we're going to do the long list of overwhelmed thoughts that we have. And slowly you can actually begin to change that habit. This is how you learn to emotionally regulate. It's not denying that you feel that way. It's not denying that those feelings are coming up. It's not even denying that you feel overwhelmed or saying, no, I don't, I feel great. Okay, so now you feel overwhelmed. That's okay. That's just a feeling. What is triggering that feeling? What is the thought you'd like to have around it? How can you work through the feeling of overwhelm instead of retreating from the feeling of overwhelmed? And the more that you go into it and the more that you work through that feeling, the more then that you teach yourself how to overcome and come through it. Because it's going to change, right? We talked about that earlier. Everything always changes. You're not going to feel overwhelmed forever, but you need to learn how to process through those feelings. And that starts by becoming aware of it. Be aware, start asking questions, lean into curiosity about yourself. And the other curiosity that I'd really like to see everyone bring into 2025 is curiosity about the world around us. Curiosity about how things work. Curiosity to continue learning and improving. This will truly help your brain too, right? Like we want to kind of give our brain things to work on and to learn. We can actually make changes and grow areas of our brain by learning and doing things that are outside of our comfort zone and things that we're not used to. It's really, really good for you. And brain health is so important. I think especially as we get older, I'm in my mid-40s now, and I definitely want to make sure that I'm paying attention to my brain health and I'm taking care of myself. And part of that is through learning. We have amazing, remarkable resources available to us in this day and age. The amount of books and audiobooks and podcasts and YouTube videos that are available for you to learn essentially anything that you want. I mean, books are remarkable and so are podcasts, but people take all of this amazing information that they have and they put it in a digestible format for you to like literally follow the steps to change your life, learn something new, expand into a new language, learn about an area of the world you've never seen. And the more curious you become, it just shifts something in your mind. So I was an avid reader as a kid and I kind of lost that in my 20s and came back to it in like my mid 30s. And at first, I'm going to be honest with you, it was really hard for me to pay attention. So I would read about like a page or two, not really pay attention, want to go get my phone. And I started to realize that that also was a habit, right? There was a habit of not being able to pay attention to reading. And instead of just giving up, I said, no, I know how to read, and I want to read. I began to train myself to pay attention. I put my phone in a different room. I would set a timer. I'm going to read for 10 minutes without stopping. Now I don't have that issue. I breeze through books. I love reading. I read a ton of books. And so I think it's really important for you to give yourself also the mindset that you can do something. Don't give up so quickly. I know that our phones have zapped some of our attention, but that's just a habit that you've created. And you can shift that habit. You can change that habit. And you may be noticing a trend in all these things that I'm sharing with you, and it's that everything is connected to a habit. Any of the negative, quote unquote, bad thoughts, unwanted thoughts that you're having, they're a habit. We're going to have a negativity bias, right? That's human. That's how we survive. But you can actually overcome that and start to think more positively and consider more possibilities by just learning how to shift some of your habits. Working with your triggers, becoming aware, opening your mind to the capabilities that you truly have. And you can live a life that is much more aligned to the type of life that you want and that you enjoy. Now, a disclaimer that I have not done in a podcast episode for a while that I want to make sure that I do in this one is that I am not a licensed therapist. So while I am here to give you steps to start to improve your life, if you are finding yourself in a position that you are considering hurting yourself, or hurting others, please do reach out to a licensed therapist in your area. I recommend a therapist who works with, trauma support and is trauma informed, and definitely the IFS, internal family systems. Those are my recommendations just based off of what has worked for me and the program that makes the most amount of sense to me. I touch a little bit on IFS in these podcast episodes and learning about your parts and what kind of needs your support and how it's protecting you. But working with a licensed therapist is definitely the way to go if you are extremely overwhelmed, you're dealing with extreme anxiety. I hope that these podcast episodes help you get started on your journey, but please don't use these in place of a licensed therapist if you're in a position that you truly think that that is something that you need, or maybe even think like, you know what, I'm not getting as far as I would like to. I'd like to work with somebody to work through this. Please do contact somebody in your area. Now I want to go into giving you some ideas of how to habit stack. So I know that I talked about things to leave behind and things to bring forward in 2025. What are these mindsets? But these are a few ideas of how you can habit stack to connect some of these ideas together, right? So habit stack, again, I mentioned this in the beginning of the episode, but a habit stack is where you take something you have to do and you pair it with kind of something new. So it's something that's already built as a habit and you're going to add something to that. So one of the examples that I have is that while my coffee is brewing, I started unloading the dishwasher. That was not something that I used to do, but I decided to habit stack and say, well, while my coffee's brewing, I'm going to unload the dishwasher. What this has led to is me making sure that I run the dishwasher the night before. And I didn't realize at first that I had connected these habits and that it had built on itself, which is why I think habit stacking is so phenomenal. Because to me, I was like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to be, unloading the dishwasher while I'm brewing my coffee. That's my new habit connection. So of course I need to make sure that there's actually a dishwasher to unload. And I've got a family of 4 that lives here. My mom is often with us as well. And so I knew that I was going to have dishes every day, essentially. I mean, if I don't, then I don't run it. But for the most part, I have a dishwasher to run every single day. And so I started to make sure that before I went to bed that the dishwasher was running. And it clicked to me that I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this habit is building on itself, which is what tends to happen without you even realizing it's happening. It's beautiful. So another one that I have is that I have a dog and I take him out for a walk every day. And I decided that I wanted to make sure that I was also learning on those walks. So I will grab some podcasts. I used to listen to music, but I'm not going to lie, that music was not really serving me. It was like sad and kind of frustrated music. And it was like music that was contributing to my old story about myself and my life and the way that I'm treated. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, here comes that awareness, right? When I became aware of it, I was like, this is not what I want to be doing. This doesn't make any sense. This isn't helping me in any kind of way. I need to let that go. And so instead I started listening to podcasts, and I listen to them about anything and everything. You can also choose an audiobook. And I love to have certain podcasts that I really only listen to on my walk. And then that way it's like a reward as well. When I'm walking, I'm able to listen to this podcast. You can do that with an audiobook as well. Another really good one is to say, well, I'm driving to work, I'm going to pair that with listening to a podcast or an audiobook. I'm going to expand my own mind and connect those. Another one that I really love is driving and saying affirmations. I am not actually a robotic affirmation person. I don't like to just repeat something over and over and over, but I do have some that I enjoy to say, and I like to talk to myself and say, you know what? I am expanding my own mind today. I am taking care of me today, right now. I am doing things that contribute to me being the best version of me that I can be. I feel really phenomenal today because I fill in the blank. I filmed my podcast. I unloaded the dishwasher. I got up and did my stretches. I took the dog on a walk. I watched the sunrise, whatever it is. And those are the affirmations that I like to use. I am taking care of myself today. I am connecting with the greatest version of myself right now. And then the other thing that I like to do is remember that God is in everything. Everything in this world is an expression of God. And the more that I connect back to that thought, the more beautiful life is. Like my dog sniffing the flowers on our walk is an expression of God, and it's beautiful. The birds flying through the air is an expression of God, and it's remarkable. Me getting up out of bed and wanting to connect with all of you is an expression of God, and I freaking love it. And it does. It makes me super excited because the more that I lean into this, just the more things start to work out really well for me. And I just feel better overall. And my life is improved like so much. Like I sometimes find it difficult to actually connect the words and make sure that I'm sharing it in a way that you can understand the massive, amazing changes that you can make in your life and how much better you can feel overall when you start to apply these principles in a much more logical and kind and loving way to yourself. It's really amazing. It's quite beautiful. So another habit stack idea is to, when you need to take a break from work, this is actually one that I got from Shelby Sacco of Sad to Savage, that when you need kind of a break, get a list of productive things that you can do around your house. So one of her favorites is actually one of my favorites, and it's to go around and take the trash out. It gets my body moving, and it also gives me something that keeps my house tidy, which just feels really good. Some other habit stack ideas are to listen to an audiobook or a podcast while you're folding the laundry. That one's really phenomenal because it's kind of something you need to do. You can also do this while you're, washing the dishes. I like to set a timer when I'm going to be cleaning the kitchen, turn on a podcast. It just makes things go a little bit faster, and I just really enjoy having other people's perspectives, and podcasts are so wonderful to me just because you can hear their perspective. It's like they're talking to you. And I just really enjoy spending my time doing that. So I hope that you found this episode helpful. I want to wish you a very beautiful, happy 2025. I kind of cannot believe that we're in 2025, but it's so amazing. I've got this feeling in my gut that this year is going to be absolutely amazing and remarkable. I'm really excited for what it has to bring. And I hope you walk away from this episode with at least one action that you're going to take to improve your life and show more up for yourself right now, today, because the more that you do that in every single moment, the more it connects together and your identity shifts to become that person. And once your identity shifts to become that person, the things start to manifest in your life that you've been seeking. So I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful week. Happy 2025, and I will be back next week.